Welcome to SwimEd, education for coaches, athletes, and parents, the only podcast dedicated to club swimming. You have selected the athlete advice summary. And so what this episode does is it summarizes what we said in the full episode and tacks on advice that we give to athletes. If you're interested in systems and how to get better at perfecting them, go back to the full episode on YouTube or your local podcast or wherever you get your podcast and listen to the full episodes to get more details. And today we're going to talk about systems. Why? I listened to Atomic Habits, but the quote that I read, and then I heard it again, and I hear it again, and I hear it again, is that goals don't get you ahead, your systems get you ahead. Is everybody has goals, but like, what are you doing day to day? The little small habits that you have that move you ahead so that you can be as successful as you want to be.
Right.
And I think that looking at coaches, athletes, and parents and saying, okay, because if I have a swimmer that comes to me and says, I'm plateauing or I'm not doing well, how do I help them locate where the weakness is and change the habits and change the system that's there so that everybody is as successful as physically possible? And so that's where we're going to start with today. Yeah. So my question to you is, let's start with coaches. I think that's a good place to start. What are some systems that you see from your experience that are systems that really help and usually need to be modified in order for, coaches to be at their absolute best during practices or performances?
Coaches now are finding it more important than ever to physically and mentally take care of themselves.
Right.
So you cannot be showing up on a pool deck every single day doing the job that you need to do if, number one, you're not getting enough sleep at night when you need it. Number two, if you are not taking care of yourself from a health perspective, that you're going to the doctor when you need to, that you are exercising, and then eating right, that I had to figure out a better way to get through these long weekends and the long time on the pool deck that was healthier. And so it came down to like, I limited myself to like one coffee in the morning when I walked on deck. And then after that, it was water or, juice or something like that. And then I would force myself to nap, even if it was just for a half hour in between prelims and finals, that I would turn my phone off. I would no TV, no anything, that even if I just laid there in silence, it helped me mentally reset.
Well, decompress.
Yeah,
right? Because you're in an
decompress.
environment that's super noisy,
Yeah.
super exciting, super stimulating. You need to just kind of get away from all that.
Just going after finals and going to dinner with fellow coaches and having a beer to just decompress and calm yourself.
You just had a beer?
We're not going to
let's roll the tape back and let's take a look at what just saying.
But it was to decompress. So I think just those minor things really helped when talking about for coaches from my trying to make sure that you're taking care of yourself so you can better take care of your club and your family and the kids that you're coaching.
Yeah.
So what about you? What do you take the perspective of a coach?
That's actually a social time where you can decompress and make connections. And so again, I think that's a perfect system for starting the discussion, because if you're not at your best and you're not being able to feel good, if you're relying on caffeine, sugar, and fat to get you through the day, after a couple of days and lack of sleep, you're not going to be able to process very well. In the same way, I think engagement at practice is really important. We as coaches don't decompress the way that we need to. So we get there early in the morning. We do morning practice. We come back. We might go home for a second to kind of maybe take a nap or whatever we need to do, get something to eat. Then we come back to work. We go through lunch, and then about 3:30, you're getting ready for practice.
Right.
So you never really decompress from the morning practice. So you get to the afternoon practice and you're kind of going, I'm tired. So you're thinking about the stuff that you were doing in the office that maybe you did or did not get done. Hopefully you've got your practice, written, because if you don't have your practice written, and by the time you get on the deck, guess what? You're not present and you're not engaging your athlete. So you didn't eat very well. then
Mhm.
you need to find how to eat well so that you feel your best. Because if you're not at your best, you're not giving feedback, you're not engaging your swimmer, you're not being technically there, and you're not, your swimmers are going to suffer, maybe not that day, but long term,
Right.
they're going to suffer. So
Yep.
you may, as a coach, say, okay, if the goal is to be fully engaged when the swimmers are here, where do my priorities have to be? And
Yep.
how do I prepare myself mentally, physically, emotionally so that I'm rested? And one thing you might want to do is at least 30 minutes to an hour before practice, decompress.
I definitely know I fell victim to, if you are in an office or you are at home and you are doing team stuff and answering emails, that hours go by so quickly and
Yes.
you don't realize it. And
Right.
then all of a sudden you look up and you're like, crap, I have to, leave for swim practice now.
Right.
And so I started actually setting myself up a alarm
There you
to
go.
make myself stop doing whatever I was doing. And I go out and, and take my dogs for a walk.
There
That
you go.
and I leave my phone and just go and do that, because it does. I will show up on deck if I've been answering emails or doing all kinds of stuff like that. And if I show directly up on deck after that, my mind is not
No.
on practice and what's going on. My mind is, oh, I still have this to do. I still have that to do. I have to get this done. And so I'm not engaging in the way that I need to be.
Right.
So I think giving yourself grace and knowing that you got to set limits, and knowing that not to set expectations as if it were a 9 to 5 job, but that understanding coaching is a very different beast,
Right.
and you have to function differently in order to be successful at it.
I think
Mhm.
the other thing that's collateral with this or correlative with this is that as a head coach, you've got to keep that in mind so that you're having your assistant coaches take that half an hour, 45 minutes before practice and decompress them, or
Yep.
not expect them to meet with you right then, or not expect them to get certain things done to set up your practice.
Right.
Right? And so you've kind of got to guide them through that. And I think
Yep.
that's the biggest problem that we have as coaches is there's so many different things that we do, so many different tasks, so many different expectations that it's hard to say, okay, I'm just going to focus on one thing at a time.
Yep.
And when everything kind of meshes together and your days are very long, it's really hard to do that.
The most brutal advice that I was ever given was that if you don't lead by example,
Right.
no one is going to follow you. So if you are unhealthy and you are not taking care of yourself, your athletes are going to question you when you're trying to give them advice
Right.
about how they should be eating, how they should be sleeping, what they should be doing. So lead by example, right? That, I mean, you've got, if you want this, you want a healthy staff, you want healthy swimmers, you've got to do that for yourself first and show that that's a priority for yourself as a head coach or a lead coach. And then, everyone will follow suit and find that it's important.
I think a lot of the times what I hear coaches say on that is, hey, whenever I was a swimmer, this is what I did. Let's think about it a different way. So what is your staff seeing?
Yep.
Right. So as soon as you get done with being an athlete, and your athletes are going to see this too, as soon as I get done with being an athlete, it's okay to let it go because I've already done the work that I needed for my health long term. That's not true. So
Yep.
your example is if you need motivation that way, your example is I'm going to be the example to my staff. I'm going to
Yep.
find a time to work out. I'm going to find a time to take care of myself, and I'm going to teach them how to separate myself from the workout. And then I'm also going to be a further example. My athletic career and what I did there is going to be an example for what you do as an athlete. But now, as I get into shape, guess what's going to happen to your mind? You know as well as I do, when we've been out of shape and we get into shape, what are our conversations about? I eat better, I feel better. I'm
Yep.
exercising, this is what I'm doing. You're relating to your athletes at a different level. You're engaging them at a different level. You are there for them at a different level, and they can see what it takes whenever you're an adult outside of swimming, what, 2, 4, 6, 8 hours a day, depending on
Yep.
where you're at and what you're doing. This is how you do it in real life after swimming. So now it's not just about me. It's about me. It's about my team. It's about my staff. It's about everybody being healthy and being the best that they can be.
Right.
So, all right, athletes, what are the systems that athletes use? And there's a lot of them that sometimes if they came to you and said, hey, something's not working, where would you point them and what would you look at first?
So I think over different generations that I have coached, this has changed. It has changed because of number one, what their school life is like now
Oh, yeah.
is very different. And number two,
Okay,
the
yeah, I see where you're
the
going.
easily accessibility of fast food with athletes. We now know that great nutrition and being ready for a workout starts many hours before you ever dive into that pool.
Right.
So you have to teach them from the beginning that, you need to be packing a lunch that has billions of snacks in it. So
Yes.
then throughout the day, you can eat it. You constantly have something that you can grab that you're putting into your body to give yourself that energy to be able to do what you're about to do when you show up. And if that doesn't exist, if you're not doing those right things, there's no amount of work that you can put in that's going to pay off
Right.
because your body is never able to fully reach what workout your coach is putting in front of you.
The two issues that you have here that swimmers really have to think about is how much food am I packing, like you said. Like
Yep.
it should be a briefcase size bag
Yeah.
of food and it should be packed out and you should be eating double what everybody else is eating that's not an athlete.
Yeah.
Number two, high schools around where I live, they will not allow you to have food in the classrooms and they
Yep.
don't want you eating between periods. So I
Hmm.
was just like, if you've got to go to the bathroom every single period to
Yep.
go grab food and eat, you do it. To drink, you do it. Now they're
Yep.
allowed to have a water bottle, of course. We're in the South, it's humid, it's hot. But I
Right.
mean, so you've got to look at the parameters in
Yep.
which you're working and say, okay, how do I maximize this system? Because if I'm dizzy and I'm tired and I'm lethargic and I'm cramping and I'm hurting and I have a headache, you can't perform at your best.
Right.
You know,
Right.
and the other system that I think is really important is I think a lot of the time swimmers go into practice and they're just going to do the sets as they're written. Perfect. Okay, fine. But do you know what the sets mean? Now, some coaches are really great at doing that and saying, today is going to be a butterfly day. We're going to be doing this kind of set, this energy system. Here's what we're going to do. Now, a little kid, it doesn't really matter. Get in the water, and when the coach says go fast, you go fast. When they say
Right.
go slow, you go slow. So at the very youth age, even 11, 12 years old, depending on who they are, that's fine. But then as you get older, you've got to understand warm up means go slow and warm up. You know,
Right.
if you know your coach has a preset, you know what kind of effort to put in the preset. It's main set, it's time to go. You're going to
Yep.
warm down after this. You shouldn't have anything left in your tank.
Right.
Okay. So if you know what kind of workout it is, a lot of swimmers will say, well, that just stresses me out. I don't want to know. What's really important there then is the transition from school, getting food and getting to practice, and then mentally getting yourself into the mode to work out. So what I'm trying to say is your workout routine starts when you finish school or when you
Yep.
finish the activity before you come to the workout. Maybe it's waking up for an early morning practice. Maybe it's finishing school. From that transitioning, eating, getting ready, and then being prepared to know what kind of day it is to where you put your effort, that's one area that's a system. I call it the workout system that really swimmers don't think about. They just show up, I get in the pool, and then I go and I'm going to listen. I'm going to react to whatever is going to happen. No, you've got to plan it out because then it tells you why it's important.
Yep.
And once you know why it's important, you're motivated to do it.
I very much agree with that, that it's an overall system within their body and their mental capacity that they have to control. And if you don't control it the right way, you're going to see pretty much immediately that you missed part of what you could control. Athletes, you've got to make sure that you're putting in the work, not just in the pool, but out of the pool, doing the right things to prepare yourself so you can be successful when you go to start training and working your hardest so you
Right.
hit those goals and do what you need to.
Yeah. So, I mean, first of all, let's call a spade here. We're not covering every system that
Right.
swimmers use and coaches use. We're cherry picking some ones that we know are problems.
Yeah.
The biggest thing that parents don't do, okay, is they don't really know what is the expectation of their swimmer by the coaches in the program and what is not an expectation of the
Yep.
swimmers by the program and the coach. And so the question I have all the time is from the parents that have the most successful kids is they come to the parents meetings. They don't just get the email with the outline. They show up
Yep.
and they ask questions. Is
Yep.
this, what are the meets that are expected for us to be there? What are the practices that are expected for us to be there? You have to know what is in that they're supposed to be doing and what is out. What the questions you ask is what, think about your athlete systems, dry land, practices, meets, nutrition, sleep, mental capacity, decompression, how do they recover? Those kind of issues, if you ask the right questions, guess what you get? You get the answers, and those answers direct you toward how you can provide the best support for your swimmer.
Yep. More than anything, my advice to parents would be, we need you to parent.
Yes.
And what I mean by that is, we don't need you to sign them up for private lessons
Right.
because you feel like they should be in a different group, or they're upset because they want to be in a different group. We
Right.
don't need you to go and do extra dry land with them, because most clubs
Right.
have philosophies that work, that come with scientific backing, that they use at certain ages for a reason. What we need you to be doing is making sure they're not on their phones until 2 in the morning playing Fortnite. What we need you to be doing is making sure they're eating breakfast before they go to school, making sure they do have a lot of food packed when they go there, that they've got water bottles, that they've got a lot of options that are healthy for them to eat. And at night, making sure they're actually going to bed on time and maintaining their grades. And, I have this conversation, I would say every year, at least once,
Right.
of, it doesn't mean that your kid needs to be taking all of these AP courses or needs to be taking advanced courses. They need to have good grades. They need to make sure that they're able to maintain a practice schedule to get them faster, but also to maintain that in their daily life. Just as you said, there's got to be a balance. And if they're not good at doing that now, it's not going to work in college. So your job is genuinely to be a parent.
All right, athletes. So Jen, so what kind of advice would you give to athletes based upon what we talked about?
Yep. So athletes, it's really simple. Take care of your bodies mentally and physically. You can't be the best athlete that you want to be if you're not sleeping at night, if you're not eating right, if you're not doing the things ahead of time in order for you to succeed. So that starts from the moment you wake up until the moment that you go to bed.
Right.
8 to 10 hours of sleep, making sure you have healthy food accessible to you at all times when you need it. And, the rest will follow. But your mental health and your physical health will suffer if you don't put a priority in them from the beginning. And it takes work and it takes repetition. But once you do it, you're going to see your practices are going to get better, your times are going to drop, and you're going to have those, changes happen that you're looking for. But if you're not doing the things on the back end, the front end isn't going to work.
Right. I think similar to what I said to the coaches, the athletes should do, there's certain areas of your life that you need to track. You need to track how many ounces of water did I drink today?
Yep.
Write it down somewhere. How much sleep did I get? Write it down somewhere. How much did I eat? You can just list it out. You don't have to go a calorie count and all that. Just like I ate a sandwich, I ate some chips, I ate an apple, I ate whatever it is. For breakfast, I had eggs and bacon or whatever it is. Whatever, put it down. So you have sleep, you have water, you have nutrition, you have the amount of stress. Gauge how much stress on a scale from 1 to 10 or 1 to 5. How stressed out was I today?
Yeah.
And then at the end of practice, how well did I do at practice today? Was I at my top? Was I not at my top? And what I would say is just find a journal and write those components down: water, sleep, nutrition, stress, how I felt at the end of practice. And you can see which system is failing you.
Yep.
It gives you that. And then the other thing is, we talked about the transition from school to practice.
Yeah.
One thing I would add there is talking to your coach, if you have the possibility, about your day.
Yeah.
And just go up and say, hey, today's been a stressful day and I didn't drink a lot of water. I'm going to go drink a bunch of water now. I'm going to have it with me because I've been charting it and I understand where I'm at. But just have that conversation so that your coach knows what to expect. But it also allows you to start thinking throughout your day about those components. And then you're preparing yourself as you go there to transition into the workout mode. It allows you to kind of communicate that and get advice. Because if you show up maybe at your practice and I say, hey, Coach Dan, I'm hungry. You go get something to eat.
Yeah.
And whether you know it's there or not, okay, what should I grab? I would grab this, this, and this, and go eat. I've had times where I've had a snack with me, and a swimmer will get out of the middle of practice and like, I'm hungry. I'm like, go eat my snack.
Yeah.
And don't come back until it's completely gone.
Yeah.
And it's just granola bars or peanut butter crackers. So something simple. And I said, until you start feeling, and then they start feeling better, and suddenly you see them take off.
Yeah.
And so you have to have that open communication with your coach. And I think that you have to start tracking some of what you're doing. Now, if you are, young, just sleep, what I mean, and just talk to your parents about it. But if you're getting toward higher age group and state and beyond, you need to be, if you're not tracking it, just like the hours for coaches, you're not going to be at your best. I will see you next time. Thanks so much.
Cheers.
Whatever platform you're listening to, make sure you subscribe and hit the like button. And if you loved us, leave a review. Also, if you're interested in getting more information from this episode, click the link in the description and we'll send you notes from this episode. Finally, do you have a topic to suggest or want to share your thoughts? Email us at swimedinfo@gmail.com. swimedinfo@gmail.com.
Join us next time for a thoughtful discussion about swimming and how coaches, athletes, and parents can improve their performances. Thanks for listening to SwimEd, education for coaches, athletes, and parents.